Good evening, everyone. Those gathered here at Unity North and those gathered in our heart through the airwaves. We belong to each other. And welcome to our second of our 4 peace vigils, a time where we have one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to be the living, vibrating center of peace for ourselves first and foremost, but most specifically as our nation and our country is in a political process of electing a leader, that we can appear as divided as we have ever been. We know the power of peace, the power of consciousness, the power of prayer, and the power of intention. And so tonight, that is our purpose, to be the change that we want to see, to be the prayer that we want to experience, to be the peace that we desire. And I invite you into this time. It will be a time of prayer, a time of sharing, a time of silence, a time of guided meditation. But let it be whatever it needs to be for you to find that calm sanctuary within your own heart, which is the temple of peace. We begin with the Gandhi universal greeting of peace, and so I invite those of you in the room and those of you online to also join me in hands and in voice as you repeat after me. I offer you peace. I offer you love. I offer you friendship. I see your beauty. I hear your needs. I feel your feelings. My wisdom flows from the highest source, and I salute that source in you. Let us work together for unity, peace, and love. We begin to build a house on that, and I light a candle as a symbol of that which we have just affirmed, a co-creative desire that we all share. A light of peace that cannot and has never been extinguished, although it may feel very distant, and although we may be in a very dark place individually and as a nation, that light always exists. Let us kindle that candle in our own heart tonight in a moment of prayer. So I invite you to close your outer eyes, and you can keep your eyes closed throughout the course of the evening. That's perfectly acceptable. Do what you need to do for our nation, for our process, for our common humanity, and for yourself. We breathe the light of this prayer in this moment into every cell of our being. And we allow ourselves to be fully present to the miracle of life in its perfection that exists right here and right now. We allow the miracle of God expressed as all creation in this moment with a place of non-resistance and non-judgment, but only an understanding that all there is God, expressed as life, as love, and as peace. And so we begin our process this evening with recognizing that any tension that we might be feeling in the nation is founded in some place within ourselves that has built a wall. There's 1,000 reasons those walls exist, and we're going to take them down tonight. But let's recognize some of the walls that exist right now with this poem by Alexander Pope that Michael's going to read for us.
Six human beings were trapped one day in dark and bitter cold. Each one possessed a stick of wood, or so the story's told. With dying fire in need of logs, the first one held hers back. For of the faces around the fire, she noticed one was black. The next one looked across the way and saw one not from his church. He couldn't bring himself to give the fire his stick of birch. The third one sat in tattered clothes and gave his coat a hitch. Why should he give his wood to use to warm the idle rich? The richest one sat back and thought of the God he had in store and how to keep what he had earned from the lazy, shiftless poor. The black man's face bespoke revenge as the fire went from his sight. But the only thing he saw in his stick of wood was a chance to spite the white. And the last one of this forlorn group did not accept for gain, giving only to those who gave was how he played the game. And so the logs held tight in death's still hands, this proof of human sin. They didn't die from the cold without. They died. They died from the cold within.
Breathe with me for a moment and breathe deeply. Breathe from the warmth of your truth, of your knowing, of your connection to the presence and power of God. The world needs the warmth that is within. And so we take down those walls, those blocks, anything within us that would keep us from being the radiating center of God awareness and God being. Take down the walls that divide us. Take down the walls so deep inside us. With all our hearts and souls, reach out and make us whole. When all resistance falls, take down the walls. Take down the walls that divide us. Take down the walls so deep inside us. With all our heart and soul, reach out and make us whole. United as one in God, take down the walls. United as one in love, take down the walls. Let us sit for a moment in our first period of silence as the shirts that we have been offering as a symbol of this vigil say, and pray for peace 2020 and beyond as we remove the walls that have separated us within. like to invite Reverend Laurel and Bellamy to the podium to read this poem of the great poet Tagore.
Where the mind is without fear. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the mouth and depths of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by those into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Tagore. Let us all awaken as a nation, a church, and as individuals to freedom from any bounds that have held us captive. Amen.
When each of us begins to remove the walls that we put there and unwittingly built upon over time, and they begin to be dismantled, and enough of us begin that dismantling process, there's a great awakening, a great remembering. We belong to each other. Oh, and at the deepest place, beyond belonging to each other, we remember we are each other. And regardless of the differences internally and externally, all the walls begin to fall back into the illusion that they were founded in. And our eyes are opened, our ears are opened, and our hearts are opened as we realize that we all are praying for the same thing: peace. We are all praying for the same thing: peace. Your prayer is my prayer too. And the same emotions that I am feeling, you are also feeling. The same desires that I have, you also have. Peace. Peace on earth. Peace in the nation. Peace in the heart. Take these words by Karen Drucker and make them your own. And bring to mind anybody where you have placed a wall between yourself and them. Bring them close, because the wall no longer exists. Your prayer is my prayer too. Your prayer is my prayer too. Whatever you feel, I feel too. You're a part of me, I'm a part of you. Your prayer is my prayer too. my prayer too. As we continue to sing this, begin to recognize, oh, what human silliness we have played in. What human divisions we have danced in that are no longer necessary because they are nothing but illusion, man-made constructs in the way of your prayer and my prayer meeting in the field of truth and allowing God to have its way with us. Your prayer is my prayer too. Please join me. Your prayer is my prayer too. Whatever you feel, I feel too. You're a part of me. I'm a part of you. Your prayer is my prayer too. My prayer too. Your prayer is my prayer too. Your prayer is my prayer too. Whatever you feel, I feel too. You're a part of me. I'm a part of you. Your prayer is my prayer too. My prayer too. Let us sit in our next period of silence to experience oneness, and oneness only. When we find that inner sanctuary of unity, not just with friends and family, but the sanctuary that is open to all people. The door remains open. The threshold is wide. And when we find that threshold, nobody else's responsibility but our own, and we throw open our hearts and our arms and the door open wide, we begin to realize that if we are not experiencing peace, we are the one that had moved. We are the one who has left the sanctuary. It is no one else's responsibility. And we're one breath, one thought, one feeling, and one action away from being right back within the sanctuary that is peace, even in the midst of chaos. Peace in the midst of any storm. Peace in the midst of all creation.
Peace Peace in the midst. I return to the mountain. I return to the ocean. I return to the womb of creation that manifested every part of my existence. Here in this place of power, darkness, stillness, and pure being, I find peace. I find innocence, and I find the eternal goodness at the center of it all. Here, I escape the bonds that have held me captive. Here I am free. Free from thoughts, actions, and circumstances. Free from condition, opinion, or history. I am enveloped by the calm assurance that all is well. Once in this place, peace is no longer an experience, but the very essence of who I am. I not only observe it, I express it. I breathe it. I live it. I am it. Peace. Peace in the midst. I am the eye of the storm, the light in the darkness, the stillness in the center, and the cradle of a new reality for myself and the world. This is more than just a moment. It is an essential awareness, not merely a fleeting escape, but an eternal state of being. I am the mountain. I am the ocean. I am the womb of creation. I am peace in the midst.
We ask ourselves, what does the nation need? It needs you. It needs the realization that you and I are the mountain. You and I are the peace. You and I are the sanctuary. You and I are the presence of God. Peace is here. It is now. It is all. Peace is here. Peace is now. Peace is all. Peace is how I live, how I breathe, how I am. Peace is here. Peace is now. Peace is all. Peace is how I live, how I breathe, how I am. Please join me. Peace is here. Peace is now. Peace is all. Peace is how I live, how I breathe, how I am. Peace is here, peace is now, peace is all, peace is how I live, how I breathe, how I am. The responsibility lies in our hearts to be peace. And so in this moment, I'm going to invite you to make a sacred vow. Several vows, pledges, promises with me right now. In this quiet, reflective moment, I'm going to invite Michael to play the gong, and after each pledge, he will sound a bowl. The vibration of the bowl will carry our intentions, our desires, our pledge to meet those that are making the same pledge all around the country right now. We vow tonight to move from fear to faith. We promise ourselves and the world tonight to make the move from hatred to harmony. We pledge to move in heart, mind, and soul from resistance to respect. We pledge to move from attack to acceptance. From aggression to amity and accord. Let us move this evening from sadness to serenity. From conflict to compassion. We vow to move from war to wisdom, from fight to freedom. Tonight, our blessed promise to ourselves and to the nation is to move from doubt to decision and from darkness to light, from lack to abundance, from dis-ease of all forms to ease and peace of all forms. Our pledge is to move from judgment to openness and understanding, and from confusion to revelation. Let our sacred prayer that we share be moving from separation to unity. Moving from a divided nation to a united nation, one under the truth of God. And our final promise to the nation the state, to the church, to the family, and to ourselves, is to release any pain as we move back to the peace that we were created in and as. Peace is here. Peace is now. Peace is all. Peace is how I live, how I breathe. Let us sit within the power of our common pledge in our next period of silence. I invite those of you gathered here to repeat after me the following pledge of peace. I commit myself to communicate better together. I commit myself to communicate better. I commit myself to listen together. I commit myself to listen. I commit myself to forgive. I commit myself to forgive. I commit myself to understand. I commit myself to understand. I commit myself to respect. I commit myself to respect. I commit myself to faith. I commit myself to faith. I commit myself to courage. I commit myself to courage. I commit myself to love. I commit myself to peace. I commit myself to God. I commit myself to myself. Such an interesting time that we are in during a time of quarantine. And I've asked Laura Lynn to share just a few thoughts that might include some of the blessings in the midst of a quarantine. Time to reflect, perhaps. Time to be, to remember, and to allow those vows to seep into the core of our being. What a beautiful time of reflection we have. Or we can curse it, or we can bring peace to it. And so, Laura Lynn, you can share just a few thoughts.
I think better on my feet, especially in that chair. Walking peacefully through a pandemic. I've been able to do that pretty much for the last couple of weeks. I had it easy. Jim and I were driving through the prairies of Kansas and on the return through Nebraska. It's easy to get out of the car and walk peacefully to an IHOP, a Shoney's. But something happened last week when I was back that brought me up short. I was entering a doctor's building in St. Joseph's Complex, and there was one elevator that was open, and as the doors started to close, I did what any New Yorker would do. I made a mad dash for that closing door. And I got right up there, and suddenly a hand shot out and said, "No." And I stepped back, and I looked, and there were 4 people in this very large elevator, and the New Yorker in me is thinking, there's plenty of room for one more. And then I looked down at the floor, and I saw that there were these squares delineating where we had permission to stand, and all 4 squares had somebody occupying them. And I kind of nodded again and stupidly waved as the doors closed. And I realized that I wasn't on the prairie. I wasn't going into a place that had plenty of space. I was back in Atlanta. And I better pay attention to taking a quick count of the elevator as the door opened before I did something wrong. Walking peacefully through a pandemic was going to be a little more challenging than I thought. It's about how I enter a restaurant, and I had lots of chances to do that when you're on vacation for 15 days. And I'm in the habit of making contact with diners as I'm walking past them, smile, smile. And I noticed that most people weren't going to lift their eyes up at people walking right past them. And I wondered how much of that had to do with a mask. But I was in this peculiar bubble of peacefulness where I was just kind of noticing, not judging, just noticing, and choosing to smile anyway, at least from the nose up. I've gotten really good at smiling from the nose up. I don't think having to wear a veil would be as much of a problem as I thought it might if I could learn how to smile from the nose up. And I think I've mastered that. Look at this. At any rate, I found that a moment of comfort, a moment of peacefulness as we move through this pandemic. I noticed that when I was able to walk down a restaurant aisle with tables on either side of me, that I could become peace walking past people, that I didn't ignore them, and I didn't kind of glare at them. I would smile at them and keep on walking. And in that moment, I hope that what they sensed from my eyes was, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Walking peacefully through a pandemic is about how we move through public spaces, how we treat one another in public spaces, and also how we treat one another when our normal behavior in moments of great affection or conflict is to move in, whether it's to move in with, "Don't do that," or to move in with, "God, it's good to see you." Learning for me with my Sicilian American heritage not to go, to find some other way to send that energy out has been my guiding principle in walking peacefully through a pandemic. And it's meant learning to slow down and not worry about the crow's feet that I'm going to get thanks to this pandemic because I'm smiling so darn much from my eyes. Because if that's the price, if that's the badge, my eyes are going to keep on smiling. Problem is my mouth is smiling too, but nobody can see that. It's kind of frustrating for my mouth. But I've learned to smile with my eyes. And I encourage everybody, as an act of healing ministry, whether you're walking through a supermarket aisle and you're just thinking, well, I've got my mask on, nobody. Realize that your eyes really are the windows to your soul. And a window has 2 functions. It's not about keeping privacy for yourself. So the eyes have to go to that blank place of, I see you. It's okay. Everything's going to be fine. Keep walking. To a place where those windows are open. Your eyes are letting your light out into a very frightened world. And if for the nanosecond it takes to smile at a stranger as you pass them on the coffee aisle in the supermarket, that nanosecond has repercussions that you don't need to know, but trust that Spirit will amplify them. Learning to walk peacefully through a pandemic, I think, is the ultimate witness to where our faith really is. Ask yourself, have I been moving through public spaces with a mask on my face that goes well above my nose? Ask yourself what it might take to allow your eyes to be the whole smile you've got to give, and risk it. Just risk it. You're going to be collecting a whole bunch of smiles at the end of the day, and that is a blessing.
We're going to be entering elevators and restaurants, public places. What if we were to inform that entering as if we were entering the church? What if the peace that's so easy to feel and to know as you enter the sanctuary became a devotion to every step was a step across the threshold of the sanctuary of peace? And that when the moment comes and we feel that inner no, that our response with eyes, with heart, and with being is, I'm being guided. I'm being guided home, whether in the restaurant, the grocery store, the home, or the church. And so we sing one more song and then have a final poem and a final period of silence to picture ourselves and to see that what's contained in this brief moment in time is not contained in this brief moment of time or this building or wherever you happen to be. Love is guiding us, saying, come in. And love is letting us know, stop, wait. If we could but listen to peace, the voice of peace within us, the voice of love, the voice of Spirit, we would be guided every moment on how to be the living, breathing expression of peace, of love, of God. Spirit, guide me, here I am. Spirit, lead me, here I stand. Spirit, use me in all I do, for I give my life to you. Peace now guides me. Peace now guides me, here I am. Peace now leads me, here I stand. Peace now use me in all I do, for I give my life to you. Love now guide me. Love now guides me, here I am. Love now leads me, here I stand. Love now use me in all I do, for I give my life to you. Spirit, guide me. Spirit, guide me, here I am. Spirit, lead me, here I stand. Spirit, use me in all I do, for I give my life to you. As citizens of this country, let us give ourselves over to peace, to love, to spirit. Our final poem, A Web of Wonder.
Yes, the web of wonder that we all are in. I heard the wind whistle through the webs of wonder, woven by the spirits of serenity, for just that purpose, to bring outer sound to inner silence, to awaken peace as a gentle breeze within our hearts and upon our souls, to capture the breath of the beloved in sacred reverberation and release the blessing of the grace within. I saw crystals dancing on these strings of infinite patterns, glistening in the vibrations of love, pulsing with perfection, singing with the saints, aligned with angels, whose tears of joy they represent by sprinkling free from captured essence to splash upon disciples as they become apostles. Rooted in the earth, yet blossoming in heaven. Captured in their time, yet beyond that constraint. A vision of the future is a look into the past. For where we are going is where we come from. And woven in that web of wonder is all of us. Woven in that web of wonder is all of us before we were any of us.
The land that we are returning to is not a foreign land. The place that we are all seeking is the place we were created in. We know our way home. We know the way inward, and we know what home feels like. Peace is our organic state. And when we are experiencing anything but that, we have simply left home, and like the prodigal son or the prodigal daughter, we're one breath, one prayer, one moment away from being home again. Let our nation be home. Let our world be home. Let our spirits be home. We end our time of stillness and reflection with the great invocation. Let the invocation be a benediction. Let it be an extension of our vows and our pledges. This is a prayer prayed by people of all religions all over the world throughout the year. let it be the beautiful roof upon the foundation of the house that we have built today.
From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of all. Let light descend on earth.
From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of all. May light return to earth.
From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the wills of all, the purpose which the masters know and serve.
From the center of the United States of America and beyond, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where darkness dwells.
Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. I want to thank you for joining us here this evening and for opening up your heart and your home and your space and your time and your energy and your devotion and your prayers and your meditations and everything you are to a cause so needed to be tended, a garden so needed to be tilled. Let this garden not be tilled just in this hour that we have spent together. Oh, but let it be tilled every moment, every breath, every thought. The garden of our very existence demands it. The garden of our founding fathers and mothers demand it. The garden of our failings in the past. The garden of our triumphs and our celebrations of the past and present. Let them live in us. If this had value to you this evening, I'm going to invite you to make a donation to the great work that Unity North is doing. We're trying to lead the way. No, we're not trying. We are leading the way into a future that is bright and will be bright. And we're not being blind in affirming this. We are relying on spiritual truth and the power of God. And so if you want to contribute to that financially, those of us in the room here, there is a basket in the back of the room that you can place a gift. And those of you online, you can make a donation through text to give. On Facebook, you can make a donation, or you can drop by the church. You can drop a check off or mail a check. We receive it all. And I want you to know that that is energy. That energy is going forth to allow this community and this family to break down the walls. To break down the walls of religion and politics, of race, of negativity. And how bright a world it is when we break down those walls together. Thank you again for being with us here this evening. Thank you, Laura Lynn. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Wes, and all the volunteers that allowed us to be here in person tonight. I leave you as we began with the song, Break Down the Walls. Take down the walls that divide us. Take down the walls so deep inside us. With all your heart and soul, reach out and make us whole. When all resistance falls, break down the walls, united as one in love. Break down the walls. Go in peace. Be peace.